Week 9 of the NFL season means another week of touchdown props. Hey everybody, I am Axton Harding, your host on this show here at the DFSG Plus channel. And here after a short intro, we're going to get into 5 players who I think find the end zone for Week 9 of the NFL season. So sit tight. Welcome back to another week of the Touchdown Prop Show. Again, as I mentioned off the top, my name is Axton Harding. You can find me on Twitter if you feel like following me. I don't really have the time to post a whole lot, but I will repost a lot of good content that I feel that I like. A lot of the guys here on DFSG Plus channel or the IDP Plus channel, you can feel free to DM me there. I've got a few other shows for fantasy football, but that's kind of where you'll find me if you want to reach out. So, but if you've been here before, you kind of know how this goes. We've got a handful of guys who I feel have a good opportunity this week to find the end zone each and every week. Actually, I make my case. You guys decide whether or not it speaks to you. If you feel like taking or tailing any of these props, I've done some research for you, so perhaps one of them will speak to you, and we can cash in together. So if we just want to talk about last week a little bit, we did pretty good for National Tight End Day. I hit on 3 out of my 5 tight end plays that I mentioned for National Tight End Day. We mentioned Goddard anytime touchdown at plus 150. I also mentioned him at 10-1 for 2 touchdowns. He actually hit on that as well. It wasn't one of my solid plays though, but I did mention it. I missed on Jake Ferguson at plus 165, missed on Fairmouth at plus 310, but we did hit on Mason Taylor at plus 255 and Hunter Henry at plus 175. So we came out on top last week overall. Now let's get into week 9 matchups. I've got 5 guys this week, first of which is going to be Jordan Addison for an anytime touchdown at plus 230 this week. He gets Detroit in Detroit. And we haven't seen Jordan Addison with J.J. McCarthy, but J.J. McCarthy's had quite a long time off. That's kind of the only caveat with the Jordan Addison play, but Jordan Addison has quickly become a heavy part of this offense, so Minnesota's looking to get him involved immediately as soon as he stepped onto the field. He's already displayed his big play upside here with 2 100-plus yard games in his 4 appearances so far, But yeah, again, it's tough to say how things are going to shake out with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, but McCarthy has a big arm, and now Addison's best routes are the deep routes, and he excels in that role. And I think that maybe these two might pair pretty well together with that big arm, kind of taking shots downfield. And then also you add in the fact that Detroit's been pretty generous to opposing wide receivers. They are allowing the league most 7 touchdowns to the position in the last 4 weeks. And not to mention the secondary has been banged up and underperforming as well. So I think Minnesota's going to have to take shots. Also, another angle of this, Minnesota's going to have to take shots in order to keep up with the Detroit offense. So I think Jordan Addison's going to have to be a hefty part of that game plan for Minnesota in order to stay in this game for Detroit. Brian Thomas Jr. comes in at plus 135. He's my second play this week. He plays the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. Vegas has given up the 7th most touchdowns on the season to the wide receiver position with 9. They've given up the 6th most touchdowns to the wide receiver position in the last month with 4. They've also given up the 3rd most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers in the last 2 weeks with 3. Now, I don't know if anybody's seen the recent news. Travis Hunter was placed on IR from an injury he sustained in practice on Thursday. So that means Brian Thomas Jr. is about all this team has in the passing game at this point, especially with the tight end Brenton Strange out for much of the remainder of the season. I can't remember if it was the full length of the season or if he just went on short-term IR. Either way, Brian Thomas is going to be about all Trevor Lawrence has to throw to. Not to mention, Vegas defense isn't exactly a stout one. It's pretty easy for any kind of team to do what they will in order to get into scoring position. So, and there's also not much pressure coming from the offensive line outside of Max Crosby. They have their moments, but a lot more fearsome pass rushes in the league than the Vegas Raiders. So it's not like I think outside of just having to game plan for Max Crosby, Trevor Lawrence should have plenty of time to make passes back there, and the secondary for Vegas isn't all that talented either. Just more pure tackling kind of guys. But again, the Jags should be able to do about anything they like to get in a scoring position. Brian Thomas Jr. should get a great opportunity to break from that shell this year. It seems like he's kind of had the yips so far, but he's having flashes. So hopefully this will be a good opportunity for him. Michael Pittman comes in third. His anytime touchdown price is plus 165. This week he gets a matchup at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going to Pittsburgh to see Mike Tomlin. But get this, Michael Pittman has scored a touchdown in 6 of his 8 games this season with Daniel Jones under center. He's clearly the favorite when they get into scoring position as far as wide receivers go on this team. He's got 4 touchdowns on 8 targets when this team gets inside the 20. Daniel Jones just likes to get Pittman involved in these scoring parties with just Jonathan Taylor. Again, there's only 2 games so far this season where he hasn't found pay dirt. So he gets first crack on any given week as far as wide receivers go to find the end zone. Pittsburgh is also pretty well falling apart on defense. They've allowed 3 wide receiver touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. They've had injuries to the secondary. They had to sign Kyle Duggar, who was underperforming in New England. Now he signs with Pittsburgh, so we'll have to see how things go there. And the pressure up front isn't really quite what it was at the start of the season, at least. T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith aren't able to get back to their quarterback, and now Indianapolis. I mean, it's a tough matchup for those guys as it is this week because Indianapolis has a stout offensive line. They've done well this year, and Daniel Jones has been able to get the ball out quick. So again, just kind of lends well to our play here with Michael Pittman. Even if you have a stout defensive line, some heavy pressure coming at Daniel Jones, he's still able to make things happen and help Pittman find the end zone. Tomlin won't go down easy in this matchup, but Indianapolis should pretty well have their way with the current state of the Steelers defense, who's fairly underperforming their capabilities. So I think if Pittsburgh wants to stay in this one, it's going to have to be on the back of Aaron Rodgers. So now let's talk some A.J. Barner. Anytime touchdown price at plus 215. He plays the Washington Commanders at Washington this week. Now, if we want to talk about the kind of matchup here, A.J. Barner's gone a little silent here the last couple of weeks as he faced some tougher defenses against tight ends. That just kind of lends well to this week. So where we have the angle now of him being due, combined with the piece that where Washington kind of struggles against guarding tight ends, where they've allowed 3 tight end touchdowns in just the last 2 weeks and 5 on the year, which just so happens to be 5th. And it's not really a high priority for them to heavily guard, and I imagine that they're not exactly going to put a lot of attention on A.J. Barner. So I think this kind of all mixes into kind of a great opportunity for A.J. Barner to kind of bounce back into that touchdown column and find pay dirt this week. He's already got 3 touchdowns on the year, so I think this is a great spot for him at plus 215. Now to round it out, we're going to talk some Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, anytime touchdown price is plus 115. There's not a whole lot of good prices out there for running backs. But Kareem Hunt, with Isaiah Pacheco now going down, Hunt gets a full workload with Brashard Smith now coming in relief. Brashard Smith ought to get some extra touches as well, but make no mistake, Kareem Hunt's going to be the main guy, especially when they get in close. When they get inside the 10-yard line, Pacheco never really gets any touches anyway. So if he wants to score inside the red zone, it's going to have to be 15, 20-yard run. So it's hard for Pacheco to find the end zone, especially when they have Hunt on the roster, who excels at punching it in. He got 2 last week, Kareem Hunt did, and the price for 2 this week is 7-1. So if you want to play a Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown, I think the Chiefs are going to attack the weakness of this Buffalo Bills defense, in all honesty, and I think that they're going to rely pretty heavily on Kareem Hunt this week because if Buffalo has the strength, it's going to be their secondary. But they've been pretty well leaking any kind of production to opposing running backs. And I think that Kareem Hunt's going to be the one that capitalizes this week. So Buffalo just has an awful run defense. They've had several linebackers hurt much of the year. Terrell Bernard is a question mark. Matt Milano has been out for the last several weeks, but he comes back this week. They also lost their stud defensive tackle, Ed Oliver. I don't know. I believe he's done for the year. Either way, I don't believe he's going to be playing this week, so it's just like a huge hole right in the middle of this defense. So I expect, again, the Chiefs to lean heavily on Kareem Hunt with Isaiah Pacheco out and the weakness of the Buffalo defense, and then I expect them to just kind of be ready to take shots downfield in the air when it opens up, because it will open up. If your weakness is the run, Kareem Hunt's going to make you pay. He's going to chunk you about 5 or 6 yards per carry. All the way down the field until you want to stop them, and then when you stop them, they're going to take a shot downfield. And I think when they get in close, if they don't already score from out wide, when they get in close, it's going to be Kareem Hunt getting the first and second chance to punch it in, and then Patrick's going to just pass it if he can't find pay dirt. But Kareem Hunt will find pay dirt if he gets it close enough. So there should be plenty of opportunity to get there and hit this plus 115 for Kareem Hunt. Well, everybody, that's going to wrap up the Week 9 Touchdown Prop Show. If you have any plays you like, go ahead and throw it in the comments. If you're going to be tailing any, let me know on that too. Otherwise, bet responsibly, set a limit, and stick to it, and be responsible with our betting. Hopefully we can, one of these actually spoke to you, and we can make some cash together this week. So until next time, we'll see you back for Week 10 Touchdown Props. But good luck out there this week, and everybody have a good weekend.